All right, everybody, strap in because today's guest isn't just another name from the road. He is the road. We're talking about Pyro John Watkins, the man who literally lit up the stage for some of the biggest acts in rock history. His new book, Don't You Know Who I Think I Am? How to Have Fun Annoying the Rich and Infamous, Memoirs of a World-Class Smartass, is a wild, no-holds-barred ride through decades of rock and roll chaos. He started under the legendary and infamous promoter Bill Graham, then went on to work with Kiss, Van Halen, Rick James, Chuck Berry, Bobby Brown, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, and countless others. He's the guy who's blown up more stages than most guitarists have played on. A true road warrior, pyro king, and master storyteller. So grab a drink, turn it up, and get ready for some unfiltered tales from behind the barricade, because when Pyro John talks, the fuse is lit. Boom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly Metallica, probably for the younger people at that show, the younger metalheads. That was
LA was a Metallica town at that time.
yeah,
So they came out in mass to see them.
yeah,
And the going from Metallica to Dokken, it
yeah.
was a strange drop.
It's a huge drop, and I'm a huge George Lynch fan. Like, I'm a fan of his playing. I wasn't so much a fan of Dawkins' songs or the vocals.
Do you know
But
Crenshaw?
what's that?
Crenshaw?
Crenshaw.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that's Dokken's guy, main guy that because he got his own band now, my French plant. They just played the whiskey, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I just Dokken and George was going through some stuff at that time, right? There was a lot of tension in that band. Did you see any of that?
No, no, we were so busy. I'd be up in one of the towers. I don't know if you remember how much pyro they had, but at the LA show, we had 5 platforms behind the stage, plus the top of the stage. So
Yeah, that was a huge production, and man, why do you think they never did another Monsters of Rock tour in America?
I don't think it was financially as much as they thought it would be. I don't know, but I know it was an ulcer maker for someone because there was so much at stake, and it. I don't know what the hype was, but it did not generate the ticket sales they were
Ah,
anticipating.
I wondered about that. I mean, the LA show was packed, but it's LA, and that's the
They figured
music.
that was happening a couple of times instead of
Yeah.
they
And,
were counting on multiple dates that didn't happen.
and I was surprised because I wasn't a huge Scorpions fan, but I honestly felt Scorpions kind of got the MVP of the day as far as doing what they did. They sounded good, they played tight. You could hear all the parts. The sound was good and all that. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised seeing them for the first time.
I think back the first day on the green, I ever worked for Bill Graham, which were the stadium shows in Oakland, and there were usually 5 rock bands. They'd have like Van Halen and AC/DC and the Eagles and stuff. And the second act was Dolly Parton. And we're all going, what the fuck, you know? And you got this stadium full of rockers, and she comes out with her band. Hi, I'm Dolly. Boo, boo. Within 3 songs, she had those people eating out of her hand. I mean, she
Wow.
won the whole place over. They were clapping. I mean, it was one of the most amazing things I ever witnessed.
How did she do it?
Just being authentic, just being not, they could boo if they want. She'd laugh. Okay, boo, I get it. Me. And then
Wow.
she did
Hey,
it.
That may be some of the greatest work of a front person I've ever heard in my life, to turn a crowd like that. I mean, dude, being a country act like that and trying to open a show like that back in those days, dude, that's heresy.
Yeah, we
I,
were all ready to laugh at her, and she turned that thing like a battleship.
and once she turned it, were people getting into it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. When she, this is how much I remember. I remember the last song she sang was "Three Doors Down." They're laughing. She had
Yeah.
everybody clapping along. You thought you were the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh my God. That's, dude, that's one of the most incredible stories I've ever heard of a front person doing that. And that's the kind of lessons that I try to point out on this channel. Most lily livered front men would get booed, and these days they go running and crying to the stage manager, and I can't go on.
Like Prince did at the Stones.
Yeah, were you there at that show?
No,
But you heard about it.
oh yeah.
And that, so how many times you think have you seen that happen?
I don't remember. I remember the successes. Like
Yeah.
I remember seeing Lynyrd Skynyrd come out before the Who at the Cow Palace, and for unknowns, they turned that place. The people were there to see the Who, but they listened to Skynyrd.
Yeah.
That was the night that Keith passed out.
Yeah. And here's the thing about Skynyrd, man, was they rehearsed in that hell house under excruciating conditions, and they worked out every single note of every friggin' song, so that when they would go out on the road, dude, they'd give anybody a run for their money at that time period. I mean, they just, and I'm not like the hugest Skynyrd fan, but I can appreciate that those guys really put in the work as far as crafting the songs, crafting the guitar solos, the parts, everything.
I think it was Ry Cooder that personally recommended him to Townsend when Townsend asked him if he thought anybody that could open for him. I did
Wow.
play for Skynyrd.
Yeah. You did Pyro for Skynyrd?
Yeah, at New Year's Eve at the Cow Palace.
Wow. What year was that?
It was the first night that Johnny sang Freebird, Edie something. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got the laminate here somewhere.
What are any standout memories from that?
Artemis riding a beer ball or something, but he was suspended from the rear of the Cow Palace and he rode all the way down over the audience onto the stage. And I remember I had lunch with him just a couple of years back at the House of Blues. And I go, what were you thinking? I go, how? He's an ex-Marine. He didn't give a shit. I got him, rode the thing.
They don't make rock stars like that anymore, do they?
I don't think so.
I mean, what do you think about? I'm sure, maybe you see some of these big shows, and maybe you see some YouTube clips, or maybe you still got some buddies in the touring world. Do you get any intel on what's going on out there?
I went and saw the Who about 2 weeks ago, and I was just in heaven. They sounded good. It took me back to that time, and fate being cruel had Billy Idol as the opening act. I didn't know that until I got in my seat. If you read the end of the book, me and Bill.
Yeah, you had a good moment with Billy Idol in the book.
But that was great. Paul McCartney played the stadium here and just had a hell of a pyro show during Live and Let Die. He cracked me up because at the end, I love when a rock star sits there with his fingers in his ears.
Was he doing that?
But he could pull it off. He made it part of a shtick.
Yeah,
he was cool. But when I did Journey, Ross Valor used to stand center stage with his knees together going like this. I go, don't telegraph the effect. Just be a tough rock star, look like one.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, and that's the thing, man. These big shows and big productions, but back then it was organic. The bands were still playing live off the floor. There wasn't all these backing tracks. Now, I mean, you've got probably shows running, the whole show's on a computer. A lot of the modern acts, right? And
I
the
tell people stories like I can honestly say that I was a singer for Journey because in 1982 there were no backtracks or synthesizers. So when you heard Love and Touch and Feeling, you had six roadies around the microphone going na 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 to make
wow.
on the sound.
Wow. Wow. So you actually sang backups on the Journey tour. That's
Oh, yeah.
amazing, man. That's what they now did they put the mic on stage or were you guys off stage?
We were down under the stage.
Wow. That's that's amazing, man. You see, nowadays they would just have a backing track from the studio recording and they'd or they'd re-record it. The trick that they're doing now, because technically if you played on a song and it was done by by all on the card and everything, they would technically have to pay you $150 a show to use one of your tracks at a show. That's this rule that they've got because they know people are taking the tracks and then going and playing live shows,
Right.
but they get around it by re-recording the parts and getting a buyout and
Yeah.
just getting some guy to do it or a computer or whatever. And it's changed a lot. Now you would probably have, I would guess, pyro and lighting cues
Well, a
being
good friend of mine was a pyro on the Kiss final tour,
yeah.
and they had 8 pyrotechnicians on that tour, and it was
Wow.
all on computer. I
And it
mean,
was all on computer.
see, back. I'm going to be an old fogey for a minute, but back in my day, you couldn't do that because it was live, and the computer would you played in the band when you're hitting them cues.
Yeah. Yeah. You had to time it. You had to have good timing.
Nothing worse than a jolt of a concussion bomb at the exact wrong moment. But if it's on a click track and the computer fires it, you're right there every time. I hate that shit. I hate when you take a guitar and you saw through it exactly enough, and then you build a steel plate into the stage. So you smash the saw guitar on the pre-arranged spot. And I think back to Pete Townsend in his angry and angst and making a statement when he smashed that fucking guitar. And then he just watched it morph over time to, we want to see you smash the guitar for something, a real moment to let.
Manufactured.
And I got spoiled working with Rick James as much as I did. And I did 5 tours. That's a few.
Yeah.
And you get to hear a live, real horn section every night, like Daniel Mel's punk funk horns.
Yeah.
You'll never be happy hearing that supposed to be a horn section.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Those
then
those
Bruce
guys
Van
were
Hooven
tight.
don't know.
Yeah. Those guys were super tight, man. And I was a big fan of Rick James and funk music and all that because if you're a musician, you've got to appreciate all types of music and all types of grooves, and getting to hear that band. How were those guys? Were those guys wild and crazy on the road, or was it maybe just a couple guys that were wild and it was business as usual?
Levi lived with me for a couple of years here in Vegas. He was like the mature side of Rick's personality. Rick, see, when you put the right bait out, the right fish come. When you put out a song like Super Freak, the Super Freaks come. And so it kind of works on top of each other. the Street Songs tour was incredible. And I played the policeman during that show. So I had come out on stage, open up, telling them black is not to be smoking no pot. And then I get the shit beat out of me by the girls. And then Rick would come on stage to the pyro.
So there's a German
Rock flat.
rock plast, and you're the policeman on that.
I didn't go to Germany.
Oh, okay.
All the American shows.
Okay.
You never saw Rick live, did you?
I not in person. I've just watched all the clips that I can find on YouTube.
The reason I say that was during your interview with Tommy, you were talking about the different guitar sound and how there was like the Motown sound and the rock sound. Rick was a rock band.
Yeah.
I worked for them for I think a whole tour before I ever heard a studio recording of one of their songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? Because you but you saw a lot of it.
Yeah.
It was just night and day. Listen to on the Désir version of Street Songs. They've got the live recording from Long Beach, and it's just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. High energy. Lots of. How did those guys? Here's the thing. Everybody wants to know. Obviously, Rick James became famous later on for the Charlie Murphy, that whole, story, and, cocaine's a hell of a drug, and all that kind of stuff. But we all know, you can't burn the candle too much. And probably that's why Rick is not with us, anymore. But, how wild were they? Did you see a progression where Rick, it started to cross the line? Or
I even wrote when the Stone City Band, I was their temporary manager. They came back together in Vegas, and nobody told us that everything had changed and nobody gave a shit anymore. And even if you were one of the greatest backing bands, here's $20, play the lounge. So we still had aspirations, and I wrote a little rock opera that had all his songs in it, but was hosted by the two smoking joints that we had. And they keep talking about, man, if Rick could have just stopped at doing lines.
Yeah. Yeah. If he could have just reeled it in, man. It's the same story, though, whether it's Elvis or Rick James or, or many others, right? They just, and here's the thing, man, it's a vicious cycle. You need to, you get out there, dude, you get tired. Somebody's got something to wake you up. If you feel like shit, somebody's got, and after a while you start going, hey, well, give me that thing that you gave me yesterday. And it becomes a daily thing. There are no rules on the road, but the rule is get up there and play the damn show, damn
it. As the roadie rule is, you can go out drinking with the boys, just get up and go to work with the men. That's it. Yeah. The only unforgivable sin is gig neglect.
Yeah. Yeah.
That results in idler windows, smoking or not.
Yeah. And I know from my experience, if I stayed up the night before all night and didn't get any sleep, and I go to work the next day, I almost overcompensate and work harder because I feel guilty and I feel that somebody's going to be watching me. Let's see. He didn't go to bed last night, did he? No. Well, I'll keep an eye on him, make sure he's doing his job. And you feel those eyes on you. So you almost overcompensate by overworking.
Some of the best shows I ever saw, like Rick James or Dio do, would be in cities where the pyro was illegal and there just was none for anybody. And they would do a better show because they weren't, I think, leaning back on the effects. I'll tell you something. See, Rick was an exception because him and I think we were pretty good friends. I used to stay at his house and I'd drive his Excalibur around Buffalo and shit. It wasn't the usual, I could call him. And one night he said something to me that just resonated with me. He just went, it's not easy being Rick James. And I thought about this. Yeah, I see what he means.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody wants something from you, and everybody expects you to perform. And you got a lot of people reliant on you getting up there and doing your job.
And like Sam Kinison, they expect you to be fucked up. They
Yeah.
expect you. I mean, they want to see that Superman that can do an unlimited amount of blow.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're disappointing them if you're not that fucked up person.
Yeah. You'd almost think, and I wonder how many guys have gone up there and put on a show that they're in that act like they're in that state of mind that aren't, because you're right. What is the line in the Bad Company song? Everybody loves you when you're high. And it's the same thing, man. When I was a kid, I wanted to go see the Stones. And, when I saw Keith Richards pick the Jack Daniels bottle up and, chug from it, on stage, we're like, yeah, and all that. But, knowing that for him, that was the Jack Daniels, that was just something to take the edge off of the other stuff that was going on, the murk that was going on backstage, right?
You'd see a band like Van Halen and David Lee would have his bottle of Jack tea.
Yeah, it was tea, right?
Yeah. And then you see Michael Anthony come out and chug that bottle of Jack, and people go, "Is that real?" I go, "Not only is that real, he's already had 3 of them in his cubby hole on the side before that." So
he could really put him back, right?
Whoa. And still be a nice guy.
Yeah, and still play the gig.
Yeah.
And I think I saw a clip the other day from Sammy's Cabo Wabo birthday bash, and Sammy opened up a bottle on stage, and he takes a big swig and then hands it to Michael Anthony, and Michael Anthony, takes a huge thing, and Sammy's like, "Well, thank God there's some other bass players here," or whatever. But I'm like, well, dude, he hadn't. Some people, I guess maybe you build up that huge tolerance, and you can handle it, but then you got, I heard the book that, what was Noel Monk, right?
Running with the Devil.
Yes. In that book, Noel Monk described Edward Van Halen as being like the Pigpen character in Charlie Brown, except instead of a brown glob of dirt that floated around, he said it was like a cloud of white powder that would follow him around wherever he went. Did you ever get that impression?
A cloud of what?
White powder.
No, well, not when I was with him. I was with him for a long time. We only had one argument in all those years, and that was when he was really drunk.
The Monsters of Rock tour.
Edward was always so happy. The only time I ever saw him miserable is when he stopped drinking.
Yeah, was that the Monsters of Rock tour?
What?
I think he had supposedly quit drinking for that Monsters of Rock thing. I don't know.
There's what the press says, and there's what is.
Yeah.
I think his real attempt at sobriety happened after Mr. Leffler died. So
yeah. And would he be a guy that would be an all-day drinker?
Yeah, him and his brother.
And how many meals a day would say at Eddie Van Halen? I mean, you guys had catering back then, right?
The crew didn't eat with the band.
Oh, okay. They kept it separate.
Yeah.
And would it be the same stuff, or would it be different?
It depends. Like Michael Jackson had his gourmet cook with him, and there was like 3 different tiers of food on the Victory Tour. The prison slop, the Denny's, and
then the good stuff that probably. So the band leader, Michael Jackson, the dancers, and maybe the band and management get the top tier gourmet, and maybe the road. I don't know. So who would get middle tier?
The crew.
The crew would get middle tier. Who would get
And
the slop?
Locals.
The local crew, the hands.
There were so many people on that tour. It is hard to imagine. You rarely left the stadium. We used to call it Jacksonburg. We had everything. There was no reason to leave. They had everything right there. Yeah. And we had a weekly newspaper. Very rarely did we ever leave the stadium for anything. And we were so sequestered from the public. Like I had dressing room access because I had to be able to talk to Mike about the Pyro, because he was a little touchy about Pyro back then.
Yeah. So right after the Pepsi debacle, where he had gotten a burn, which you describe in the book, but you were hired immediately after that event to make sure that none of this, any mishaps happened. And, aside from maybe one or two misfirings that can happen, one that with the giant button that somebody, Van Halen had for you. I didn't ever see of any actual injuries or anything that happened. And that's a testament to your professionalism.
Well, I did get one rock star, but it was his fault.
Yeah, if it's their fault, there's nothing you can do about it.
Viv Campbell on Dio, when you're sitting there and you're going to push the button, you've got was something thrown on stage? Is a vermin coming over the barricade? Is everybody in their place? And then you got to be in time. So you don't want to. So you got to depend on professionals to be professionals.
Yeah.
Now, this dragon would look around, it would shoot a laser, and a flash pot would go off. Same thing every night. One night, Viv was on Planet Campbell, and he liked to stand next to the flash pot because he liked the way it looked when the sparks came down on him. I said, be careful. I can't. So one night he just took a spin right when the laser went off, and it popped and took his eyebrows off. And he went staggering across the stage, and you saw smoke coming from underneath his cape, and the crew donned it Campbell's Comet.
Wow.
I didn't get fired.
That's the thing about being on the road, man. I'm sure you've seen guys that they do something, and the next thing you know, they got the plane ticket home or the bus ticket home and all that. And how many rookies does that happen to?
Rookies, I put it as 40%.
40%.
First time on the road, high level of this ain't what I thought it'd be.
Yeah. How many of is it self-imposed? We're like, or do they go, when do we go to the hotel room or some question like that, right?
Well, I used to fight with the magician on the Jackson's tour all the time, because whenever he'd have an idea, it always took Pyro to cover his crappy magic. So his ideas always meant more work for me.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a roadie, he was a magician. And I'll just always remember this one time we're in this hotel. Now, I'm used to dragging my ass into a dirty hockey shower and, jumping in my shelf and waking up. You slept as long as it was to the next city, and drag your ass to do it again. All of a sudden I'm on this Jackson's tour, and I'd get a suite because I was a department head in a 4-star hotel. There'd be a knock on the door. There'd be a bellman there to pick up my luggage. Then we'd saunter down to the lobby, and there'd be the cars. They would take us right to the Delta VIP lounge, where we'd sit and have cocktails and snacks, board the plane through the special entrance, fly to the next city. There'd be cars on the tarmac, take us to the next hotel, get in a suite, and about 20 minutes later, there'd be a knock on the door, and your luggage, sir. I got going, man, I'm going to enjoy every second of this bullshit, because this ain't real.
That's white glove service. That's dude. That's like the highest pinnacle of awesome.
So I go into the lobby one time, and there's Franz chewing this poor girl out in the hotel lobby because he had to carry his own luggage downstairs. And I went and grabbed said, "You don't know how close you are to getting the holy shit beat out of you right now. Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because it can all go away the next day, and that's not reality for most people, man. We all dreamed. I used to call them white glove gigs. A guy with white gloves hands you your instrument and would you like some tea? So yes, please play some tea. The guy's getting massages backstage, and all that stuff, and then the catering at the special dietary needs and all of this kind of stuff. And the reality is most of it is not that at all. There was only one Michael Jackson at that time who was the biggest star on earth at that moment.
It was funny to even see the biggest star of the world bullied by his brothers because he was still just their kid brother to them.
They picked on him
mercilessly.
What would they do?
The worst thing, Michael was going to give bonuses to the crew for our hard work, and it was all stacked, big stacks of cash in the production office. And two of the brothers came through and said, "What's that?" And they go, "It's a bonus for the crew." He goes, "We didn't vote on that. That's our money." Took it off, and
so then what happened?
they told Michael, "You can't make these decisions. It's not your money." Fuck you.
So you guys didn't get your bonuses?
Well, not exactly. The production manager, who was accounting skinflint. I mean, you wanted to get reimbursed, you had to have the receipt. Came on the PAs. Yeah. For the next 10 minutes, I will buy any receipt you have. People were taking toilet paper, just writing shit on.
Wow. So, here's the thing, man. The touring world back then dealt with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of cash.
Yeah.
And how would they secure that money back then? How was it? What if a Michael Jackson? Let's just guesstimate. What would he make in cash? Maybe for merch sales. What, 800,000?
His assistant was Miko Brando, who Marlon's kid, who I loved Miko. He was a great guy. So we used to call him Stella, but we used to hang out. And he goes, "I got to run errand for Michael to the airport. You wanna come along?" And I went, "Yeah, So he's there, and he flops down Michael's green American Express card. Thing. Stick like a green card. I've got a platinum,
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, well, this will work." So I go, just out of curiosity, to the girl, I go, what's the limit on that card? She goes, 6 million. And I said, "I'm paying $1,000 for this fucking platinum card, and just for the color of it." Here's $6 million on a green card.
Wow. Yeah. We're talking about serious money. And back then it was all cash. It was cash. They had credit cards back then, but it was like the swipe thing with the little machine and the receipts and all that kind of stuff, dude. Would you have a truck full of cash that basically would and guards running something like that?
I got to be careful. I don't want any of my Italian friends to get mad at me.
No. We don't want anybody ticked off, but yeah. I'm just curious because it was a different world. Now everybody would have a card, and it's probably hardly any cash.
They got Wi-Fi on the bus. We had a Betamax with Caddyshack. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were happy to have it.
Yeah. Now it's Wi-Fi and satellite, although the satellite only works depending on where you're at.
Well, that won't do.
Yeah.
I went in one time on Rick James, and there was a little partying going on in the production office, and I wanted my per diem, and the guy's, yeah, he goes, that's supposed to get $300, so he counted off $3,100 bills. I looked at it and I go, you might want to recount this. And he goes, you don't think I know how to count? And he took it, he started hitting me with it in the face. 10, 20, 30, 40. I picked up the $3,000, went, thank you, I was wrong. Never heard a word about it.
Dude, I remember reading an article in Rolling Stone, and it was about Rick James, and it said that, talking about the budgets, and that he had a budget of, I thought they said, I don't know if it was $100,000 or more, and it was written on his taxes as a employee, Juan Coca.
Ah,
And that was the budget for the let's say accelerants that were being used.
we were out on the road, and all of a sudden, this very attractive, light-skinned white woman showed up in a professional dress with a little silk scarf and a little briefcase. And she'd been sent from Gordy to do some accounting to figure out where the hell all the money was going, and so I met her, and she was nice and so like that. She goes, well, I need these receipts, and blah, blah. I go, well, I do not envy you your job. And she goes, don't be silly, sir, blah, blah, blah. So I gave her my receipts, and I could hear her sometimes talking, hey, I need these, I need this, from the production and stuff like that. Within a week, that nice hairdo was down. She had bags under her eyes. You can see her say, I don't know. I just wanted the receipts. And she just,
So she lost her mind trying to find receipts, basically.
oh, yeah.
People have no idea what it's like. It's like being in a traveling circus.
And Rick was different because it was so scattered. You worked for Van Halen. You got your money every week on time, blah, blah, blah. If you were not, now I was with Rick 5, 6 tours. It was his longest employee, black or white, that made it the whole stretch. If you weren't flexible, you weren't going to make it. If you sat there and I'm supposed to get this, so I wouldn't get paid one week. I'd get paid by 3 people the next week. I go, hey, I didn't get paid last week. 3 people go, oh yeah, here's the money. And they wind up with 4 times. Go, hey, you had to be able to,
you had to be able to float for a little while.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you talked about in your book Van Halen and what a professional organization that was, and with Ed Loeffler at the helm. And then you went from the last Van Halen tour that you did, you went over to with some upstarts, I guess the Bon Jovi guys when they were getting their start.
5150 to Slipping with Stupid.
Yes. And so you described those guys were green and didn't have the organization. It wasn't as tightly a run ship. What's that like going from, a well-run machine to one that's kind of like, well, let's see what happens.
Bon Jovi was pretty well run. It was the band that was kids, but it was Doc McGee. So
yeah, Doc knows what he's doing. But what mistakes did you see like a young Bon Jovi making out there?
I saw him mix vodka and gin or something like that one time because he wasn't a drinker. And he decided one day he needed one. Like, what the fuck? Bon Jovi, it was weird. You see this happen in music, like Kiss, when they started to make it, and then Bill Coyne decides, well, we're going to need to bring in professionals. Well, on Slippery When Wet, we still had his high school best friend as their lighting director and other positions that they were bros for life. And to watch how they get weeded out one by one by the hires up,
Yeah.
see the band sell their soul one friend at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just at some point, it just becomes that. Now, a lot of times you'll see that happen with bands where they go out and it's four brothers and Steven Adler on drums or whatever, and then all of a sudden they realize, hey, this engine that was pretty crucial for that first album, that engine's only going to carry us so far, and now we're going to have to put a new engine in this rock and roll band. You see that happen a lot.
And those are bands, I think, unless somebody's really fucking up, are not in touch with their fans. Fans don't really care if Peter played that great. They wanted to see Peter.
Yeah.
And there's all in it. This in every band. There's really only one star, two maybe, and then employees. There's that one. But if you have more than one genius, you got too much friction.
Yeah.
So it's like one God-given talented entity and a bunch of lucky people. I mean,
Yeah.
you get to a point where you can afford then to buy better musicians than you started with.
Yeah.
But the fans that don't know that only know the personalities, and they care more about the personalities than who played on the album.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what a genius management understands.
Yeah. Kiss is an example of that, because once Ace and Peter left, I mean, it seemed to me, now looking back, it's like they almost kind of lost their way, because they're taking off the makeup, they're trying to compete with all the other hair bands, and they're bringing in three or four different guitar players and all this, and it's why eventually they had to put the makeup on and get the two original guys, even though technically they might have had better players in these new guys. The fans want to hear, the original thing.
When I did the Revenge tour, I can honestly say it was a much better band than the garage band I heard on the Dynasty tour.
Yeah.
But the magic was with the Dynasty tour.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense, man. And it's the same thing with Steven. To me, when Guns N' Roses got rid of Steven Adler, something was missing in that band. It's not the same, even though maybe he's not the greatest drummer, and we know he had documented issues, but it was never the same ever since. It's the Stones without Charlie Watts,
the Who
without Keith Moon. Rush is going to go out now without Neil Peart.
I'd love to have $1 for every time someone said this is the end. We're not going out again. We're never going to play Freebird. We're never going to put on the makeup. We're never going to never. All of a sudden,
what is it? It's the money, right? It comes down to money.
Hey, I said it before. I'll say it again. Fuck Live Nation. They suck the soul out of music, out of live music.
And what would be your summation for that, because of the money and the ticket costs and all that, just from your perspective?
They buy these guys and then they own them. When a band can't give his old crew members backstage passes because Live Nation says it's not in the books, that's fucked up.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. All I know is that now concert prices, I've got a soon to be 5-year-old daughter, and every now and then I think, well, maybe I should take her to see this band. These guys are old, and she kind of likes a couple songs, and then I'll look at the prices and just go, I'm not paying $300 plus to sit in nosebleeds, and go see this dude. When we were kids, $12, $8.
I saw the Beatles for $350.
Yeah, the Beatles for $350 in their prime. Now, what would Paul McCartney? I think actually Paul McCartney's tickets have come down in price now, but it just doesn't make sense when it's like, I've seen the Stones so many times when they
come down, you're still talking a couple $100.
Yeah. it's so much money now, and I don't know how it's going to sustain itself. I
I've
don't.
seen a difference in the rock stars that they the joy is gone. It really is. I don't know if it's just the music or whatever, but now they're employees. They really are.
Yeah.
With exceptions like the Who that came out and refused to do the Live Nation thing, but they sit there and they're like trained monkeys now. You know my sense of humor. I was dying to take a copy of the Who Sell Out and have Townsend sign it. Don't remember these days?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll never do a. They had like Keith Moon and a bunch of beans, and they're hawking cars and stuff. But
Yeah, yeah. And
we'll
now everything is a huge sellout. And people that are watching this, that hear it, and I try to explain it, you could be a rock star and you could have had all these hits and you might have assets and stuff, but everybody needs cash, right? I mean, it comes down to, you might not have, cash. And I guess because I don't know how to explain it to somebody that's like, he's rich. Why would he go out there and embarrass himself? When you think of the king that you described backstage with his meager pile and his pontificating, now that king is having to prance before his subjects with his what out, because the voice is not what it used to be. And you go, well, why is he doing it? And you go, I guess he's cash poor, right? I mean, I don't understand. Or they're addicted to the adulation.
could be either. I remember you're an old Sunset Strip guy. I had an apartment on Franklin, and I was rehearsing with the Jacksons at Zoltrop Studios, and I went to the Palladium with Pat Thrall to see somebody and to see a musician that hypnotic. Watching a musician was Stevie Ray Vaughan to watch. So Tommy McDermott was his sister-in-law had like a Holiday Inn type band, and they were playing at a golf course somewhere out in the valley. And the guitar player was sick, so Tommy was going to sit in with his sister-in-law's band. So I grabbed Pat, and we drive out there in my little Jackson's rent-a-car, and he comes walking in, and Tommy's jaw almost hit the floor. So here there's maybe 30 old golfers, guys in their 45 and stuff, sitting there having like a cocktail after their round of golf. Well, Pat jumps up on stage with Tommy, and these two guys just start having a blast. And it was a magic moment for me. Imagine watching, they rocked these 30-old people. They had that, to see two arena level musicians and that intimate of singing and seeing them bring it and just having the joy between the two of them.
Yeah.
That's what people keep trying to copy and reproduce and sell.
Yeah.
If you got it, you got it. If David Lee Roth, if they hadn't had invented rock stars, if he'd been born in the 1800s and he had to be a sheep farmer, he still would have entertained the townsfolk at night because that's who he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If they'd never invented the guitar, what would Eddie Van Halen have done for a living? He's not a genius aside from that instrument. And so
the harpsichord, perhaps, right?
I mean, you could have been the best in the world at something they never invented. If only they invented what you were perfect to do, you would have had it made.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I think the thing about I don't think my book is mean spirited or cruel. It's just, I think it's a celebration of the humanity of people. We're all people, even rock stars.
Yeah.
They like to forget it. And so it's just, it's like the Van Halen song. Everybody's searching for something they can believe in.
Yeah.
David Lee Roth said it best when he said the only difference between me when he was at the top of his stardom is 5 feet. And the guy goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I went from standing in the audience 5 feet and turned around. I'm still that same guy."
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great story. And that's a great way to look at it. And man, this has been an amazing interview. And we could go probably for 3 or 4 hours. So we'll have to do this again. But I want you to tell me, what's the best place for people to get your book? Where do you want them
The
to?
only place you can get it is Amazon, and you got to go to books first, or it won't even go because
Okay,
I'm
I will find the book on Amazon, and I will put the link in description, and I'm gonna let people know early in the interview as well that the link for the book is there, because this is a great book. I mean, from a lot of times when I have to do these interviews and I've got 4 days to read a book before the thing, sometimes I have to skim through things and kind of cut to the chase. But I read every single word of that book, man, and it's a great book. And you're right, it's about humanity. It's about remembering your humanity.
the book was actually no, I didn't write it to. I don't want to. I want to be a bestseller. I would do this. I wrote it for my friends. It started out writing it for Rick James because when he didn't include me in his autobiography, I said, "Well, maybe." He goes, "Well, maybe I shouldn't write about the tours. Maybe that's your job." And I go, "Well, maybe I will." And so I started writing these horrible stories, true stories about us on the road, and sending them to him to make him laugh. And then he died, but. He loved it. Noel Monk loved it. Oh, it's a book for people who are like roadies or do not think that their stars don't shit their pants. It's I want people to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, I lied. Don't believe it. I don't care. I want people to have a good time with it.
Yeah, it's a great book, man, and it's the inside baseball that people want to know, and man, this is telling a time of history, the rock era, the funk era, and a time when music was real.
It was the old West before AIDS, corporate sponsorships fucked it up for everybody.
Yeah, it was back when it was real, it was raw, and anything could happen. A guy could come from nothing and end up on the biggest stages and on the world, and you were a guy that seemingly was always destined to come in contact and be around that fame or whatever you want to call it. Just seemed like it was like you were destined to head in that direction, and you seeked out work in that field, and you worked your way up to the top, the upper echelon, dude. You worked with the legends of the biggest stars in the music industry, man. And I want to give you a huge salute. I want to tell everybody to buy the book. Links in description. And dude, let's do this again.
Yeah, I gotta get more hours in than Steve Rosen.
Yeah. Oh, we'll do that. You've already, I believe we've gone over what we did with Steve Rosen. So I think you've beaten him time wise. Pyro John, thank you so much for coming on the channel and doing this. And dude, I'm gonna have you back, and we'll get more into Kurtz next time.
I was just going through the channels, and all of a sudden you came up, and I said, "Oh, you could almost the bullshit detector." I said, "Wait a minute, that guy's actually telling the truth about stuff."
There's not many people doing that. They all want to glorify everything, and that's not the reality.
Salesman for it, or my other favorite channel is the guy, the Wings of Pegasus guy.
Yeah,
boys, he hated in the industry.
But, oh, really?
Well, he just pulled the curtain on the Eagles.
Yeah. I would imagine they're not happy about that.
So I like channels like that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Well, man, thank you so much, dude. This has been absolutely epic. And we'll do this again, brother. I'll contact you about that idea.
Start of a beautiful friendship. All right, I'll talk
Yes.
to you,
Thank you,
Brad.
brother. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.